close to midnight, and something evil's lurking in the dark. Under the moonlight, you see a sight that almost stops your heart. You try to scream, but terror takes us out before you make it. Yeah, you start to freeze as horror looks you right between the eyes. You're paralyzed, 'cause this is thriller night, and no one's gonna save you from the beast that's about to strike. You know it's thriller night, and fighting for your life inside a killer thriller tonight. You hear the door slam and realize that there's nowhere left to run. You feel the cold hands and wonder if you'll ever see the sun. You close your eyes and hope that this is just imagination, girl. But all the while, you hear a creature creeping up behind, and you're out of time. 'Cause this is thriller night. There ain't no second chance to kiss a thing with 40 eyes, girl. Thriller night. You're fighting for your life inside a killer thriller tonight. Night creatures crawling, the dead start to walk in their masquerade. No, there's no escaping the jaws of this alien tonight. This is the end of your life. Come on, come on. Thriller night, 'cause I can thrill you more than any ghouls would ever dare try. Thriller night, so let me hold you tight and share a killer, thriller tonight. Thriller night, girl, I can thrill you more than any ghoul would ever dare try. Thriller night, so let me hold you tight inside a killer thriller tonight. I'm gonna thrill you tonight.
Darkness falls across the land. The midnight hour is close at hand. Creatures crawl in search of blood to terrorize y'all's neighborhood. And whosoever shall be found without the soul for getting down must stand and face the hounds of hell and rot inside a corpse's shell. The foulest stenches in the air, the funk of 40,000 years, and grisly ghouls from every tomb are closing in to seal your doom. And though you fight to stay alive, your body starts to shiver. For no mere mortal can resist the evil of the thriller.
I love that version of a really, truly great song. Thriller is right up there as one of the greats. And that is by Duende, a tremendous a cappella group. It's actually based out of New York. And again, I always recommend these folks and would love to get them on at some point, although it's not going to be easy because they are very busy doing cool stuff because they're freaking awesome, as you can probably tell from listening to that. So always want to play a little bit of that because Halloween, man, it's Halloween. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to a special bonus Tuesday night stream. It is Halloween, so happy Halloween to everyone. I am back from trick-or-treating with the kids, and my daughter went as a skeleton. She had a very good candy haul. There were a lot of kids out today, actually, a lot of kids out around here. So we ran out of the candy we were giving out, and she restocked a little bit with some of the candy that she was getting in. So it was good times, and I had fun, and she had a good time. And then we came back and watched It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, because, again, critically important, I think, to be part of that tradition every year. So we did that. And so it was good times. And so now what we're going to do, again, this is a bonus cast. I normally don't stream Tuesday night, but I didn't have a chance to do my Pen and Pixel show because I was out with them. So now what we're going to do is we are going to do the conclusion of Loom, because it's very short. And I think we've only got about maybe an hour left, people said, of Loom. And then after that, I'm going to do 2 Edgar Allan Poe readings for you guys. And sort of, keep us in the spooky Halloween mood. And that's going to be that. So that's what we've got on the docket. And I am looking forward to it. Should be good times. Yeah, it was amazing, Ten. It's not very long. And I've been playing through it. I'm really enjoying it. But I figured if I've only got that much left of it, I might as well just wrap it up. There should be no problem. So that is what I'm going to do. You guys know the way to support the stream. Please tweet out the stream if you haven't done so already. ! CTT to retweet the stream. Please let everybody know about the show. Please, if you can, check out the Steam group with ! Steam group, YouTube with ! ArvTube, of course the Discord with ! Discord, and last but certainly not least, support the channel if you can financially with the Patreon, either ! Arvtreon, ARVTREON, and then the sub button, which is that purple button right above the window. Both those things are really helpful. The subs have been going up. Patreon's been holding steady. So anyone who is able to do that, it's much appreciated. Never required, but always appreciated. Yeah, sorry, Dragon. I'm not. I just didn't like Grim Fandango. I'm sorry. I just didn't enjoy it. It was just kind of too full with I liked the setting and I liked the music. But it just had way too much of this frustrating pixel hunting, nonsensical adventure game logic that just makes my brain turn to mush. And I've enjoyed Loom immensely because it has very little of that. And I got to be honest, I just didn't like Grim Fandango. I didn't enjoy it. So, I tried, most of the games that you guys suggest, I do like a lot, but, it just didn't work for me. Doesn't mean it's a bad game. It's just not my thing. So, but we are going to play Loom, and Loom has been good and fun and good stuff. And so we're going to do that. But thanks to everybody who's here to start out the night, and hopefully we'll get some more people in here over time. So let's get rid of this, my fun jack-o'-lantern, and let's get rid of, where are we? Where is it? Where is the precious? Right there. And there we go. Hi everyone. Whoa, my camera's like way up there. Let me turn that down. Seppuku. Sorry, man. What can I tell you? I try to give these things the old college try, and I just didn't work for me. Again, like I said, it's not at all a commentary on the game being a bad game or anything like that. It's just some games don't fit. It's like you in Dark Souls, you don't match up with Dark Souls. Neither do I match up with Dark Souls. You and I agree that we don't match up with Dark Souls. So that's all. It happens sometimes. It gets better. Yeah. But I feel like today alone, at least I like Phoenix Wright. Yes. I do like Phoenix Wright, although Phoenix Wright is definitely something you have to take breaks from sometimes, because Phoenix Wright, it's good, but I'm not even trying to make it a qualifier. I really do enjoy Phoenix Wright, but you need to give it breaks in between, because playing that game steadily, where it's just nothing but Phoenix Wright, that gets a little tiresome because of the sort of unique flavor that Phoenix Wright has. But that said, I do enjoy it, and I will definitely come back to it at some point. So yes, but with that said, we have some Loom to wrap up, folks. We got very far into the game. I guess probably about 3/4 of the way through the game. And so let's wrap it up now and see how the story concludes. All right, I'm going to pop up The Power of Scum Compels You. Again, bear with me for just a minute because load. Shoot. I think I'm here is where I am. Okay, so I'm going to need to just make an adjustment here quickly. So bear with me for just a moment, please. This is Thriller. There we go. Thriller night. What's going to save you from the beast that's about to strike? Okay. All right, let's do it up. So I did a lot of this already, but I don't know if there's anything else I had to do. I still need to get those other notes. That's one thing I have to do for sure.
It appears I can't get there from here.
Oh, so the only thing I can do is go through here. All right. Float, 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 float. Presumably there's one more of those. The head bobbing. Yeah. The hell is that?
Welcome, Bobbin. You have joined us here at last.
Where am I?
You are outside the pattern, the home of the dead, and of those transcended.
The shore of wonder?
Yes, Bobbin, the shore of wonder. And you are the first to behold it with mortal eyes.
That's cool and all, but we have to save the world and stuff. Swan.
Your journey has been long, and you must have many questions.
You're the swan that appeared each year on my birthday, aren't you?
You saw me clearly then. I was never sure, but those visits meant so much. My only chance to watch you grow. You see, the elders forbade me to set foot on Loom Island just after you were born.
I thought you came to visit me, but I never quite believed it.
Call it a mother's curiosity.
Apparently with intent.
For indeed, Loom Child, that is who I am.
My mother is a swan?
Indeed. In mortal life, however, I was Lady Signa Threadbare, banished by the elders 17 long years ago for drawing an unforeseen infant out of the loom. How I've longed to know you, and you to know me, my son.
Liar. That's just not true. My mother is buried in the weaver's graveyard.
Dear Hetchel, she and the elders put that stone there so you wouldn't ask too many questions. Hetchel vowed to protect you forever, Bobbin. She is my dearest friend, and she loves you very much. But I fear her love has driven her to recklessness.
What do you mean? Where is she?
She flew off to Loom Island to confront the dead ones.
The dead ones are after her?
It's not Hetchel they're after, my son. They want the loom itself. If Chaos masters its secrets, the pattern will be hers to control. Hetchel plans to destroy the loom if Chaos doesn't consume her first.
No, I've got to go back there, now!
You won't get far in that direction. The loom lies beyond the lake. No, you must try a more subtle strategy.
Oh. What do you propose?
The dead ones move between the holes your bishop friend rent in the pattern. If you weave the holes closed, it will be harder for them to follow you.
Yeah, sorry about that, Ten. I guess I needed to re-enable it.
Her eyes. They're just like mine.
Can I get another note?
Her eyes. They're just like mine.
Can I get another note? All right, let's see. Is it the only thing? All right, let's try playing some stuff here.
Your drafts have no power over me, Bobbin.
Her eyes. They're just like mine.
Okay, but then what am I supposed to do? Son of a swan!
All of the holes must be sealed before you dare approach the loom.
Oh, so I have to seal the holes. Okay. I shall do that. I shall seal the holes. I have to say, I think this is kind of an interesting... I wonder how the swan thing connected. Like, I could totally them being like, oh, the guilds, you got the weavers and everything, and they're like, and then you all become a swan. And you're like, Really? Because how does that all work? Okay, so DECE. No.
That thread's too high for me.
Close. Good. Thanks, Dragon.
Maybe I should stand a bit closer.
Okay. I think there's only one more, right? If there even is one. Oh yeah, this is the tough one. It's only one way out now. Yes, Spakio, I can. Give me another note.
That's the last hole. Now, let's go find Hetchel.
We got B now. Yes, these are spells that you find throughout the course of the game, through different puzzles and things like that that you solve. You find out different note combinations, which I've been keeping track of throughout. So I have a whole bunch of different ones, and there's some that I actually wrote down that I don't necessarily have access to until I get the higher notes, like B is now. So I have everything but high C, and I think senior or Signe, which is Swan. That one I've heard a couple times is CFGC, and I don't have enough because I think it's high C, so I don't have enough to be able to do it yet, but I will be able to get there eventually. So, okay, let's save. Let's save it here. Okay. Yeah, and you have to be careful too. There was one case where there was a spell that I didn't write down, where there's this flask that was dripping water or liquid, and I didn't write it down. And when I got there, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to play, so I had to basically look it up. In pre-internet days in 1990, which was obviously pre-internet, you would have been out of luck without like a clue, a hint guide, or something like that. So you really got to write everything down.
Her eyes. They're just like mine.
All right, here we go. This is like the original Isle, or it's like a distorted version of it. All right.
Huh?
Whoa. Lightning Forge thing. And this is where they find the loom. This is the actual place where the loom was at the very beginning. Wow, it just takes you right there. Okay. I don't know that last note though.
Mind yourself, Bobbin. Get your distaff ready. You must unmake the loom now. before chaos takes control.
What? How? I don't know what draft to use.
Birds and children have no business wielding such power.
Weavers are the only ones who do have the right to use this power.
Destiny has blessed you, young Threadbare. For you alone will live on to pass your guild secrets to others more worthy of them. I invite you to serve my new empire as advisor.
I decline your request.
You? Advisor?
Of course, I will expect your full cooperation in this historic exchange of goodwill. After all, anything else may bring harm to our relationship.
Don't listen to her, Bobbin. Heed me now. Here are the threads that will unmake the loom.
Silence.
Hatchel, say something, please. I need that draft.
Enough! I lose patience in the presence of inferior beings.
I don't know,
You
actually,
will now
Dragon.
instruct me in the use of this fascinating instrument.
Over my dead body.
Preference noted.
Hetchel, how do I open you up? Is it... No, that's not it.
I guess that draft isn't going to help me here.
How about CDDC? Richard
I
Sade,
guess
huh?
that draft isn't going to help me here.
The thing is, I don't have... Maybe ADDA? That's not it. That's not it. That's not it.
I need to choose my drafts more carefully.
Aha! Healed.
That's not helping.
I mean, it's not helping. I just healed her. I forget what... I don't remember what that does.
I need to choose my drafts more carefully. Well, that draft didn't seem to do much good.
I advise you not to.
All right.
Well, that didn't work.
Maybe reverse it?
Well, that didn't work.
That's weird. BAGF. I tried that.
I advise you not to approach me too closely, Weaver boy.
Wonder if I can unweave this somehow. Like... No.
Well, that didn't work.
Weave. I don't really like how I feel like I'm brute forcing this, but...
Well, that didn't work.
Don't entirely know what to do with this one, because I feel like I need to get her to speak, but I'm missing a note.
That thread's too high for me.
I advise you not to approach me too closely. We've...
A beak moves, but there's nothing, not a sound. A beak moves, but there's nothing, not a sound.
Hey, what's up, Zergy? Dying her doesn't help. I don't want to twist her. Can I wake her, maybe? Like...
That didn't help at all.
Maybe on Hetchel I can use that. BAGF. Alright, let's see if I can do that. B. A. G. Shoot. FGAB?
No, that's not...
Ah, that was the last thing. Reversing the spell.
Oh, thank goodness. Now, Bobbin, quickly. The threads you need are...
Ducks are meant to be eaten, not heard.
Uh-oh.
I believe we were discussing the secrets of the Loom.
That's good, Zergy. I'm sorry that it was a blue night.
That's not helping.
What was it now? BF. BF. Okay, so FB, FB. No, she did. Chaos did. Speak the freaking thing.
Close your eyes now, Bobbin. But keep your ears open. Here descends the third shadow.
That bird has annoyed me once too often. Now, my esteemed advisor, where were we before we were so rude?
I remember seeing that feather flying too.
Hetchel's black feather. She left one behind.
And so she did. I think I shall keep it as a souvenir of our little encounter.
I want that feather. Give it to me.
My, impudent, aren't we?
Going pretty well. BCCB.
I advise you not.
No. Try it again, please.
Throw away that stick, young fool. Your weaver magic can't begin to touch me.
That's not true. I just need to figure out how. I need to get that high note.
Throw away that stick, young fool. Your weaver magic can't begin to touch me.
B, C, C, B. Going well, Zergy. Uh-huh. So I go at the loom itself.
Bobbin, Bobbin, you did it! The loom is unmade.
You ignorant fools! Do you comprehend what you have done? None of us can pass across this rift your weaver mischief has so blindly created. Your pious meddling has brought the end of my dream. You will hear for all eternity the cries of those you have abandoned, Bobbin Threadbare.
Could use that last note.
You will always know that you have left them
It's good, Zergy.
We abandon no one. When our side of the pattern is mended, we will return and put an end to your evil.
Come, Loom Child. It is time for us to begin our destinies anew.
Nice.
Leaving so soon, Weaver? I was looking forward to spending more time with you.
Oh, okay.
It might help to point at something first.
Well, it would help if... Ah, me, myself. Here we go. That's the one I haven't been able to cast all game.
I need to choose my
What?
drafts more carefully.
Let's see. Could I do a reflection of myself, maybe? Hey, what's up, Michelle? No.
That draft doesn't work on me.
Is this the only thing I can cast on is myself? Welcome in, Michelle. Oh, man. How am I going to get her to leave? I can only cast on one spell on myself. Good, Michelle.
I need to choose my
Darn it.
drafts more carefully. I need to choose my drafts more carefully.
What? Can I close this?
That draft doesn't work on me.
Darn it. How about... I can't move anywhere now.
That draft doesn't work on me.
Maybe stealth? Well, the deal is that you have a set of spells that your staff is able to cast by combining
That
notes
draft
together.
doesn't work on me.
And we're right at the end game now, and I'm trying to get away from chaos, which is this creature down here. And the only thing I can target to cast a spell on is myself. And I thought I knew what spell I was going to use, which is this spell I haven't been able to cast all game because it uses the highest note that I just got. But this note is not, the high note is not working. So I mean, that thing is not working. CFG. Maybe it's that. There it is. That's the one. Now I'm a swan.
Fly away while you can, young threadbare, and know that we will most assuredly meet again.
I am ready, Mother. Let's go.
It really is an interesting concept. It's you're a weaver, Hishel, which is like a guild of people that can do. That's it. That's the game. You're able to weave and close and do aspects of the pattern, and through this adventure that happens, chaos is released into the world, and then you end up, as you just saw, managing to restart the pattern so that chaos is defeated. But this is a short game. I mean, this is like 3.5 hours. Basically, 3 hours, 45 minutes. I think the point is that you have to learn who you are as a weaver to be able to get to the point where you are. And that Pat Franklin Hetchel, Pat Franklin, was actually in the original, the Lord of the Hobbit that was on NPR audio version that I loved. So, which I thought was pretty cool. This is available on GOG. It's $5, $5.99. I actually also had it on Steam, which I forgot when I rebought it on GOG, but whatever. But I highly recommend it. This is excellent. I really liked it. I mean, it's very short, but it was not frustrating. And I can see why. One of the things I liked most about it is no items. It's just literally no items at all. It's just literally the use of your staff in different places. The only thing you carry around is your staff. Nothing else. And so being able to access and connect with different items is pretty cool. Sort of the opposite of frustrating. And cool music too. Also, Scum handled this very well. So yeah, I recommend it. GOG. If you actually use my link down below, I have a GOG affiliate link. And if you use that, it costs you the same. And you can throw a few cents my direction if you're going to get it anyway, Zergy. Thanks to Orson Scott Card, really. The writer of Ender's Game. Special thanks to George Lucas. LucasArts, of course. I would give this game a high rating. I'd say this game would probably be an 8 out of 10 for me. Even though, again, it's short and not perfect. But for 1990, I really like the no inventory management thing a lot, yeah. Just focus on the story. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is, Zergy. Very interesting, relaxing, and super short. The end. Man, that's cool. I'm just surprised that it went that fast, honestly. Like I was kind of like, oh, and now the game's over. The game is really, and the game also, I should say, it is very much not linear. I mean, like, there's not a lot of walking around from place to place or backtracking. But what I liked about it is there isn't a lot of the sort of incoherent adventure game logic that I've never been a big fan of anyway. So I dug that. Yeah, very much not a lot of BS. Exactly, not a lot of BS at all. So I would agree with that entirely. Yeah, the affiliate link is down below. I should put that together as a command, actually, 10. You're right. But anyway, the affiliate link is down below if you guys want to give that a shot. So cool. All right, I liked it. I hope you guys enjoyed that too. That was fun. Good job, guys. Good choice of game. Good stuff. Okay, well, that was done quickly. You can always go to the second place winner, Elite Force, for a completely different experience. Like, we just left behind relaxing and snug, and now Elite Force. So, okay, no, what we're actually going to do now is we are going to do us a reading. We're going to get us some Edgar Allan Poe in here. So we're going to pull up the two things that we're going to read by Edgar Allan Poe. Because it's Halloween, and that's what it's all about. Right, I played it on standard difficulty, Skiller, but yeah, I understand that the higher difficulty is just by playing it by ear. So, okay, so let me... Yep, I mean, listen, for Halloween, you could do a lot worse, right? Okay. So, we're going to do that. So, need to get some music in here, though. So, let's get some music. Let's pull together some music. Okay. Let's go to my now following me on Twitch, Kevin MacLeod. And let's see what we've got with some, let's check out some of this music. What about this? No. 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 How about this? That's too spacey. Nah, that's too space-like. I don't want space-like. I don't want space-like. How about this? Kevin MacLeod. Yeah, pretty much. Exactly, Zergy. Nah, too busy. I want it more atmospheric. How about Graveyard Shift? No. Maybe that's a little overboard. I still want more atmospheric. How about Grim Idol? No. How about that? Very cool. An episode of Beer and Board Games. Tolkien follows you. Oh man, I'm super jealous. Okay. The only thing I wish he would do is I mean, he has like 2,000 like pieces of music, but I wish he could organize them into some kind of playlist. Because he has like sometimes little notes on each song, but going through each one is kind of a little rough. Clearly I should have done this beforehand. I wasn't thinking about it before. What about this? That's cool, but it doesn't. How about that? No, alright. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to do this instead. Because I know that this works. There we go. Instead, we're going to do the Sunless Sea theme, which I think is better. All right, now, that I think will work for this. Perfect. Now, before we get this really working, we need this too. There we go. All right, people. Settle in. Buckle up. And come with me now. Let's add a little bit of echo. Test 1, 2, test. There we go. All right. Are you folks buckled up? Are you ready to go as we get into the Halloween spirit with two works by Edgar Allan Poe? This first one I think is one of his best works ever, and it is called The Mask of the Red Death. Are you guys ready for some Mask of the Red Death? Are you guys ready? Oh, I've seen that before, Dragon. Actually, I just realized that this is what I was using for the OST last year, and I actually kind of liked it. So I think I'll stick with this for now, but I actually am going to check that out later because that might be really useful. In fact, I'm going to pop that up. Oh, hey. That's background music for the Raven. Ooh. Okay, we're going to do that with the Raven. We'll do that. That's cool, Dragon. So we're going to do this for the Mask of the Red Death, but then I'm going to switch over to the mixer that you sent. Thanks, man. That's cool. All right, here we go. How is my voice relative to the music? Ooh, that's a good one. How's my voice compared to the music? We good? It's good? Okay, here we go. The Mask of the Red Death. The Red Death had long devastated the country. No pestilence had ever been so fatal or so hideous. Blood was its avatar and its seal, the redness and the horror of blood. There were sharp pains and sudden dizziness, and then profuse bleeding at the pores with dissolution. The scarlet stains upon the body, and especially upon the face of the victim, were the pestilence which shut him out from the aid and from the sympathy of his fellow men. And the whole seizure, progress, and termination of the disease were the incidents of half an hour. But the Prince Prospero was happy and dauntless and sagacious. When his dominions were half depopulated, he summoned to his presence 1,000 hale and light-hearted friends from among the knights and dames of his court, and with these retired to the deep seclusion of one of his castellated abbeys. This was an extensive and magnificent structure, the creation of the prince's own eccentric yet august taste. A strong and lofty wall girdled it in. This wall had gates of iron. The courtiers, having entered, brought furnaces and massy hammers and welded the bolts. They resolved to leave means neither of ingress or egress to the sudden impulses of despair or of frenzy from within. The abbey was amply provisioned. With such precautions, the courtiers might bid defiance to contagion. The external world could take care of itself. In the meantime, it was folly to grieve or to think. The prince had provided all the appliances of pleasure. There were buffoons, there were improvisatori, there were ballet dancers, there were musicians, there was beauty, there was wine. All these and security was within. Without was the Red Death. It was toward the close of the 5th or 6th month of his seclusion, and while the pestilence raged most furiously abroad, that the Prince Prospero entertained his 1,000 friends at a masked ball of the most unusual magnificence. It was a voluptuous scene, that masquerade. But first let me tell of the rooms in which it was held. There were 7, an imperial suite. In many palaces, however, such suites form a long and straight vista, while the folding doors slide back nearly to the walls on either hand, so that the view of the whole extent is scarcely impeded. Here the case was very different, as might have been expected from the Duke's love of the bizarre. The apartments were so irregularly disposed that the vision embraced but little more than one at a time. There was a sharp turn at every 20 or 30 yards, and at each turn a novel effect. To the right and the left, in the middle of each wall, a tall and narrow Gothic window looked out upon a closed corridor which pursued the windings of the suite. These windows were of stained glass, whose color varied in accordance with the prevailing hue of the decorations of the chamber into which it opened. That at the eastern extremity was hung, for example, in blue, and vividly blue were its windows. The second chamber was purple in its ornaments and tapestries, and here the panes were purple. The third was green throughout, and so were the casements. The fourth was furnished and lighted with orange, the fifth with white, the sixth with violet. The 7th apartment was closely shrouded in black velvet tapestries that hung all over the ceiling and down the walls, falling in heavy folds upon a carpet of the same material and hue. But in this chamber only, the color of the windows failed to correspond with the decorations. The panes here were scarlet, a deep blood color. Now in no one of the 7 apartments was there any lamp or candelabrum, amid the profusion of golden ornaments that lay scattered to and fro or depended from the roof. There was no light of any kind emanating from lamp or candle within the suite of chambers. But in the corridors that followed the suite, there stood, opposite to each window, a heavy tripod bearing a brazier of fire that protected its rays through the tinted glass and so glaringly illumined the room. And thus were produced a multitude of gaudy and fantastic appearances. But in the western or black chamber, the effect of the firelight that streamed upon the dark hangings through the blood-tinted panes were ghastly in the extreme, and produced so wild a look upon the countenances of those who entered, that there were few of the company bold enough to set foot within its precincts at all. It was in this apartment also that there stood against the western wall a gigantic clock of ebony. Its pendulum swung to and fro with a dull, heavy, monotonous clang, and when the minute hand made the circuit of the face and the hour was to be stricken, there came from the brazen lungs of the clock a sound which was clear and loud and deep and exceedingly musical, but of so peculiar a note and emphasis that at each lapse of an hour the musicians of the orchestra were constrained to pause momentarily in their performance to hearken to the sound, and thus the waltzers perforce ceased their evolutions, and there was a brief disconcert of the whole gay company, and, while the chimes of the clock yet rang, it was observed that the giddiest grew pale, and the more aged and sedate passed their hands over their brows as if in confused reverie or meditation. But when the echoes had finally ceased, a light laughter at once pervaded the assembly. The musicians looked at each other and smiled as if at their own nervousness and folly, and made whispering vows each to the other that the next chiming of the clock should produce in them no similar emotion. And then, after the lapse of 60 minutes, which embraced 3,600 seconds of the time that flies, there came yet another chiming of the clock, and then were the same disconcert and tremulousness and meditation as before. But in spite of these things, it was a gay and magnificent revel. The tastes of the Duke were peculiar. He had a fine eye for colors and effects. He disregarded the decora of mere fashion. His plans were bold and fiery, and his conceptions glowed with barbaric luster. There were some who would have thought him mad. His followers felt that he was not. It was necessary to hear and see and touch him to be sure that he was not. He had directed, in great part, the movable embellishments of the 7 chambers upon occasion of this great fête, and it was his own guiding taste which had given character to the masqueraders. Be sure they were grotesque. There were much glare and glitter and piquancy and phantasm, much of what has been since seen in Hernani. There were arabesque figures with unsuited limbs and appointments. There were delirious fancies such as the madman fashions. There was much of the beautiful, much of the wanton, much of the bizarre, something of the terrible, and not a little of that which might have excited disgust. To and fro in the 7 chambers there stalked, in fact, a multitude of dreams. And these, the dreams, writhed in and about, taking cue from the rooms, and causing the wild music of the orchestra to seem as the echo of their steps. And anon there strikes the ebony clock which stands in the hall of the velvet. And then for a moment all is still, and all is silence save the voice of the clock. The dreams are stiff, frozen as they stand. But the echoes of the chime die away. They have endured but an instant, and a light, half-subdued laughter floats after them as they depart. And now again the music swells, and the dream lives, and writhes to and fro more merrily than ever, taking cue from the many tinted windows through which stream the rays from the tripods. But to the chamber which lies most westwardly of the 7, there are now none of the maskers who venture, for the night is waning away, and there flows a ruddier light through the blood-colored panes, and the blackness of the sable drapery appalls, and to him whose foot falls upon the sable carpet, there comes from the near clock of ebony a muffled peal more solemnly emphatic than any which reaches their ears who indulge in the more remote gaieties of the other apartments. But these other apartments were densely crowded, and in them beat feverishly the heart of life. And the revel went whirlingly on, until at length there commenced the sounding of midnight upon the clock. and then the music ceased, as I have told, and the evolution of the waltzers were quieted, and there was an uneasy cessation of all things as before. But now there were 12 strokes to be sounded by the bell of the clock, and thus it happened, perhaps, that more of thought crept, with more of time, into the meditations of the thoughtful among those who revelled. And thus, too, it happened, perhaps, that before the last echoes of the last chime had utterly sank into silence, there were many individuals in the crowd who had found leisure to become aware of the presence of a masked figure which had arrested the attention of no single individual before. And the rumor of this new presence having spread itself whisperingly around, there arose at length from the whole company a buzz or murmur expressive of disapprobation and surprise, then, finally, of terror, of horror, and of disgust. In an assembly of phantasms such as I have painted, it may well be supposed that no ordinary appearance could have excited such sensation. In truth, the masquerade license of the night was nearly unlimited, but the figure in question had out-Heroded Herod, and gone beyond the bounds of even the prince's infinite decorum. There are chords in the hearts of the most reckless which cannot be touched without emotion. Even with the utterly lost, to whom life and death are equally jests, there are matters of which no jest can be made. The whole company, indeed, seemed now deeply to feel that in the costume and bearing of the stranger neither wit nor propriety existed. The figure was tall and gaunt, and shrouded from head to foot in the habiliments of the grave. The mask which concealed the visage was made so nearly to resemble the countenance of a stiffened corpse that the closened scrutiny must have had difficulty in detecting the cheat. And yet all this might have been endured, if not approved, by the mad revelers around. But the mummer had gone so far as to assume the type of the Red Death. His vesture was dabbled in blood, and his broad brow, with all the features of the face, was besprinkled with the scarlet horror. When the eyes of Prince Prospero fell upon this spectral image, which, with a slow and solemn movement, as if more fully to sustain its role, stalked to and fro among the waltzers, he was seen to be convulsed, in the first moment with a strong shudder either of terror or distaste, but in the next his brow reddened with rage. "Who dares?" he demanded hoarsely of the courtiers who stood near him. "Who dares insult us with this blasphemous mockery? Seize him and unmask him, that we may know whom we have to hang at sunrise from the battlements." It was in the eastern or blue chamber in which stood the Prince Prospero as he uttered these words. They rang throughout the 7 rooms loudly and clearly, for the prince was a bold and robust man, and the music had become hushed at the waving of his hand. It was in the blue room where stood the prince with a group of pale courtiers by his side. At first, as he spoke, there was a slight rushing movement of this group in the direction of the intruder, who at the moment was also near at hand, and now, with deliberate and stately step, made closer approach to the speaker. But from a certain nameless awe with which the mad assumptions of the mummer had inspired the whole party, there were found none who put forth hand to seize him, so that, unimpeded, he passed within a yard of the prince's person. And, while the vast assembly, as if with one impulse, shrank from the centers of the rooms to the walls, he made his way uninterruptedly, but with the same solemn and measured step which had distinguished him from the first, through the blue chamber to the purple, through the purple to the green, through the green to the orange, through this again to the white, and even thence to the violet, ere a decided movement had been made to arrest him. It was then, however, that the Prince Prospero, maddening with rage and the shame of his own momentary cowardice, rushed hurriedly through the 6 chambers, while none followed him on account of a deadly terror that had seized upon all. He bore aloft a drawn dagger, and had approached in rapid impetuosity to within 3 or 4 feet of the retreating figure, when the latter, having attained the extremity of the velvet apartment, turned suddenly and confronted his pursuer. There was a sharp cry, and the dagger dropped gleaming upon the sable carpet, upon which, instantly afterwards, fell prostrate in death the Prince Prospero. Then, summoning the wild courage of despair, a throng of the revelers at once threw themselves into the black apartment, and seizing the mummer, whose tall figure stood erect and motionless within the shadow of the ebony clock, gasped in unutterable horror at finding the grave cerements and corpse-like mask which they handled with so violent a rudeness untenanted by any tangible form. and now was acknowledged the presence of the Red Death. He had come like a thief in the night, and one by one dropped the revelers in the blood-bedewed halls of their revel, and died each in the despairing posture of his fall. And the life of the ebony clock went out with that of the last of the gay, and the flames of the tripods expired, and darkness and decay and the Red Death held illimitable dominion over all. The end. Poe is a master of tension building and a master of symbolic imagery. So it's always been a fun story to teach as well. Those chambers that are just sort of in sequence with each other. It's good stuff. It's good stuff from Poe. You guys noticed there was music playing, like massacre music playing in the middle of that, so that worked out. All right. So that was one. Okay. Now we will do this one. So thanks of course to Dragonspear for this. This is background music for The Raven. Hey, Rock God. Turn that down a bit. All right, here we go. The Raven. Got to turn up my echo machine to 11. All right. Here we go, folks. The Raven. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my book surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here for evermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or Madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you." Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when, with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore, Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, are sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther then he uttered, not a feather then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, Nevermore. Startled at the stillness, broken by reply so aptly spoken, Doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore. But the raven, still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then, upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking, Nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining, on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er. But whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee respite, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, O quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, whether tempest sent, or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. Be that word a sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting, on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. Good times, good times. All right, people. That is The Raven, and that is another Halloween, folks. That's another Halloween for us. And the Telltale Heart. Telltale Heart's great, too. Telltale Heart's also great. Yep. Raven was rejected by a magazine, eventually sold for $9, widely reprinted with Poe receiving no financial gain. That's true. Poe himself did not have a happy life. He was married to his cousin, who he apparently loved, but she died early, I think, of tuberculosis. And Poe himself was always very sickly. He ended up dying essentially in poverty. And for many years, there was an anonymous person who they called the Poe toaster, who would leave flowers and a snifter of, I think it was cognac, at his grave. And up until about 3 or 4 years ago, I want to say, that would happen every year. And here's the kicker. It would happen even though there would be cameras and everything focused on the spot. The cameras never actually caught anyone leaving it. It just appeared. Creepy. But I've been to that place. It's in this rundown section of Baltimore, which is really the place that ought to claim him. There's a lot of places that try to. He was born in Boston. He lived in New York for a good period of time. He lived in Boston, New York. He lived in Philadelphia for a while as well. But Baltimore, I think, ultimately is the place for him. So, but you wouldn't have a Stephen King without Edgar Allan Poe. You wouldn't have, frankly, any great movie, horror movie of the 20th century. Alfred Hitchcock doesn't even begin to start without Edgar Allan Poe. So Edgar Allan Poe is really the guy who gets it all started to begin with. So he is an enormous influence. And a very fine writer in that regard as well. So, and so many good ones. Murders at the Rue Morgue, the Pet and the Pendulum, obviously. The Cask of Amontillado was one of my favorites as well, and I considered doing that as well. Mask of the Red Death, obviously, which I read tonight. Just lots. Fall of the House of Usher. So there's a lot of great ones as well. Yeah, I know, the Baltimore Ravens. If I weren't a Steelers fan, I'd probably be a Ravens fan because, I mean, it's literary. Like, what else do you want? But can't. Steelers. So, my pleasure, Darkin. My pleasure. So, yeah, guys, so that is going to do it for me for tonight. This was a special cast to wrap up Loom and to do a little bit of some readings as well. So that's going to do it for me until Friday. Tomorrow, I'm going to be putting together the schedule, so I don't actually know what's happening on Friday yet. My guess is it's going to be The Last Guardian. That's my guess. Starting next week, we will have Fighting Fantasy Game Books. We'll have GOG with D&D, or D&D with GOG. We'll probably have the Arvocalist coming in the next couple of weeks. 2 weeks from now, we'll have the Adventures of Middle-earth Tolkien campaign will restart with our new 4th player. We will have, of course, D&D with Infinity and Beyond. We also have, hopefully, the conclusion this month of The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, which we've been doing, as you guys know, every other month. So we should hopefully be able to wrap that up. So we got a lot of stuff that's on the docket, but we will see. It's good stuff as well. Ooh, that's awesome. What is that? Is that like Pumpkin Thump that they have going on for that? That's pretty sweet. I dig that. That's kind of awesome. But yes, so if you guys liked what you saw and heard today, then please make sure you follow the channel. Please support the channel in the various ways you know how to do. Please check out the Steam group with ! Steam group, YouTube with ! ArvTube, Discord with ! Discord. Don't forget, of course, about the Patreon, ! ArvTreon. This is the last day for October, so hopefully you're able to get on board if you can. And then, of course, that purple sub button right over there. There we go. We're up to, I think, 32 subs right now, and that's awesome and makes a big difference. So hopefully we'll be able to do that as well. Yes, but I'll be posting both VODs, Marinda, as soon as we get off tonight. So later this evening, you should be able to see VODs up there. It's not very long, so to actually play through it, so it's not very long. But yeah, that's good stuff. So I am going to. I can barely see my keyboard. There we go. There we are. So we're going to go over to this one. Lovely. There we go. Perfect. I did this to lead in as well. Yeah, sorry, Marinda. I did this to lead in, but I like this version so much that I'm going to also close with it as well. So I'm going to close with Thriller by Michael Jackson, of course, which is being covered by Duende, a really good a cappella group that I like a lot. So I'm going to finish with them. And I will see all of you wonderful people, of course, on Friday. I want to thank everyone who made this an awesome stream tonight, although a quiet one, obviously. Thank you to Dragon Spear, Shatter Mage, 10 of Clubs, my wonderful mods. Thank you to my wonderful subs, Dragon Dragon Spear, and Classicor, Spakio, and Zergy Stardust. And thank you also to my Patreon supporters, which includes some of those people, of course, 10 as well. So do that as well. Okay, that's cool. No problem, Zergy. Thank you. I appreciate you letting me know, man. Thank you. Thank you to Darkenwolf, to Divinorium, to Ekag, Jagtris, Jaredin, Marinda, Rockgod, Sharian. Thank you to Sadamontes RPGs. I don't know if I've seen you in here, Sadamontes. I hope you like what you saw and heard and will consider following the channel and supporting the stream and all the kind of that good stuff that we do here if you can. And thank you, of course, to Valerian Gamer and Photon Joker as well. Thanks, everybody, so much. I'm now going to leave you. I'm going to get off here, do a little bit of work. Spakio with a resub. Thank you for the resub, Spakio. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. And in your honor, sir, this is the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup that my daughter gave me from her stash of Halloween candy for today, so I will enjoy this as well. Thank you so much, Spakio, for that. I appreciate it. Happy Halloween, everybody. I hope that everyone does. I hope that everyone enjoys themselves and has a safe Halloween for the rest of it. And I will catch you guys later this week as we move into the month of November. But until then, everyone, stay safe. Be careful, and don't let the immortal realm attack you in this mortal one. With that said, everyone be good to each other. Have a good day.
It's close to midnight, and something evil's lurking in the dark. Under the moonlight, you see a sight that almost stops your heart. You try to scream, but terror takes us out before you're naked. Yeah, you start to freeze as horror looks you right between the eyes. You're paralyzed. This is thriller night, and no one's gonna save you from the beast that's about to strike. You know it's thriller night, and fighting for your life inside a killer thriller tonight. You hear the door slam and realize that there's nowhere left to run. You feel the cold hands and wonder if you'll ever see the sun. You close your eyes and hope that this is just imagination, girl. But all the while, you hear a creature creeping up behind, and you're out of time. 'Cause this is thriller night. There ain't no second chance to kiss a thing with 40 eyes, girl. Thriller night. You're fighting for your life inside a
creatures crawl in search of blood to terrorize y'all's neighborhood. And whosoever shall be found without the soul for getting down must stand and face the hounds of hell and rot inside a corpse's shell. The foulest stenches in the air, the funk of 40,000 years, and grisly ghouls from every tomb are closing in to seal your doom. And though you fight to stay alive